Ed and I want to introduce you to someone that I admire so much. And let me just let you know a little bit about Randy before she talks to you about her free spirit. And believe me, she has it. The more I get to know Randy, the more I know that that's an important part of who she is. She's the founder and CEO of Author One Stop Inc. And the Author One Stop Inc. is an amazing organization. She's also the creator of the Write a Book program, and she represents authors that are finding literary agents and publishers at book expos and different places around the country and around the world. She's the former editor-in-chief of a national magazine, and she's edited a lot of books herself. She's written a book that's called From Crappy to Happy. I don't know if she's going to share any of that for you, but she really has a lot of success under her belt. And I found a testimonial that someone wrote about Randy, and it really just hits the spot. This is from a person called David Tyerman, and he said, if you look up the word savvy in the dictionary, a picture of Randy will appear. So Randy, I would like to introduce you, and please share with us your thoughts today.
Okay, well, I'm just wondering if that picture of savvy is me with COVID hair or pre-COVID hair. So I actually, Guinea, I really appreciated what you said about dealing with difficult times, because there's something that I call, we've all heard of the term the dark night of the soul. That's basically when, things just fall apart in your life. I feel like right now we're going through a planetary dark night of the soul. And I have this question that's always on my mind, which is, why do they call it a dark night when it's never one night? Shouldn't we call it like the dark year and a half of the soul? Because, crises multiply like rabbits. It's not just like one thing that happens. And for me, this happened some years ago. I was editor-in-chief of a very large New Age magazine in the Bay Area when the New Age was hot and happening, and you could say the word New Age and be proud and nobody rolled their eyes. Like now it's all, mind, body, spirit, but it used to be like the New Age, and that was the great big thing. So here I am, I'm like, my identity is tied into being the editor-in-chief of this magazine. I'm a voice for the New Age in the entire San Francisco Bay Area, where it is absolutely hot and happening. And what happens? The magazine gets sold. I'm out of a job. My relationship tanks. Someone I know committed suicide because he couldn't create his dream. And I went into that dark night of the soul kind of place. And from that place, I started questioning myself, like, what does it take in life to really be happy? Because here, everything that I identified as my identity was now erased. And so I decided to create my life into an experiment. And I decided for a year, I would only choose in every single moment what I felt would make me happy. So if a friend said, hey, you want to go out to dinner? I really checked in with myself. And I decided I would live in the truth of what happiness was as the best I knew. Another very dear friend of mine, Deborah LaForest, she said when she was in crisis, because believe me, I was in a lot of crisis at the time, she always asked herself the question, what is the most loving thing I can do for me right now? So I decided that's going to be my question towards happiness. What is the most loving thing I can do for me right now? So I would ask myself that question many times during the day. And what I discovered is when you're asking yourself this question, it's often a very gentle truth. So for me, I would hear, what's the most loving thing I can do for me right now? Take a walk. What's later on? What's the most loving thing I can do for me right now? Do the dishes, cry, sleep. Whatever it was, I followed that path of that inner guidance, my inner truth, until one day when I asked, what's the most loving thing I can do for me right now? I heard, sit. Okay. I sat on my little tiny carpet in my living room. I asked again, what's the most loving thing I can do for me right now? Do nothing. And for 2 weeks, every time I asked the question, What's the most loving thing I can do for me right now? All I heard was sit, do nothing. Well, while I was sitting and doing nothing, I heard, I realized that I had a bunch of Hanukkah candles. My father was always donating to charities in Israel, and as a thank you, he was getting Hanukkah candles, which he sent to me. So I had a very large collection of Hanukkah candles. So I put a bunch of Hanukkah candles in a little menorah, and I would sit with those candles until they went out. And that turned out to be an hour and 20 minutes a day. Within 2 weeks, I was so quiet inside, I felt like I could hear the silence of a flame. And from that place, I just started thinking about things that had happened to me throughout my life, and I decided to start writing about them. And I had one of those like little tiny Mac Junior Classics with the screen that is only about this big. And I started just writing like a story or another story or another story. These stories didn't relate to one another. They were just almost like stories that felt like they needed to be birthed. And within a month, I had 100 pages. And I started thinking, I think I have a book. But if I have a book, what book is this? Well, it turned out to be my first book, Crappy to Happy. And I started looking for a publisher for that book. And I started going to the big New York book expos. And my writing career grew. One day, I had nothing left in my refrigerator, literally except for the box of baking soda. And I had heard this little thing going on, like in the back of my mind. They talk about that small voice, listen to it in the back of your mind. And it was telling me to do a particular stunt. And I'm thinking in my mind, there was no way I am going to do this. But when it came down to the fact that I only had a box of baking soda left in my refrigerator, I was eating the plums off my neighbor's trees. Friends were bringing me garden food from their gardens. I mean, making squash. I mean, I was just down to like zero in terms of income, running through my savings with this dream of getting published. And so finally it's like, okay, I have nothing left to lose. I am terrified, but I'm going to go do this. So what I did was, in listening to that voice, it was rush hour. It was a Wednesday from 4 to 5 p.m. I put on a dress, my high heels, some lipstick. At that time, I had a naturally curly perm. And I went and stood off the 101 freeway in Mill Valley, California, holding a giant cardboard sign that read, "Author seeks publisher." I was absolutely petrified, except everybody who was driving by, they're giving me the thumbs up. This is Mill Valley. This is a very wealthy area. So it didn't matter if somebody was in their old, rusty Toyota Corrosive, or they were driving, a Beamer or whatever. They were all saying, "Hope you get it." One lady drove by and handed me $3. That night, a publisher called me. He offered me the job as editor-in-chief of his national magazine. But that wasn't my dream. My dream was to get my book published, because I knew that the wisdom that had come through during my dark night of the soul experience was really meant to make that big impact. And so I was willing to stay in my truth. And that truth wasn't becoming editor-in-chief of another magazine. It was getting my book out. And I was willing to just stand in that alignment. And so I turned the job down, even though I had nothing in my refrigerator, because I was so willing to stand in the truth. And then he counter-offered, and he said, "Well, how'd you like to work it for us until we find our right person?" All of a sudden, light bulb moment. Perhaps I can make a connection to a traditional publishing book agency that I can't make while sitting in my living room waiting for the phone to ring. So I took the job, absolutely loved it. And so my career, all of a sudden, I'm editor-in-chief of a national mind, body, spirit magazine. And then I tell a story called "How I Found Happiness by Working for Embezzlers." All true. This is totally true. That company, after I'd worked for them for about a year, they went under because that was part of a larger company that had nothing to do with my magazine. But they went under, and again, I found myself out of a job. At least this time I had saved up, money. And I became the chief writer for a new freelance magazine, another big new national magazine out of the Bay Area. What I didn't know was that it was funded entirely by embezzled money. The mother of the publisher had worked for UCSF in San Francisco, where she was the head cashier for 14 years. She had embezzled over somewhere like $4 million from UCSF. Now, in the magazine world, in professional magazines, you don't get paid when you write the article. You get paid when the magazine comes out 6 months later. So I'm waiting on 6 months worth of income. And I was the chief writer for the magazine. I wrote most of the magazine, all the articles, like with Wayne Dyer and just all these, big name mind, body, spirit people. And the day I was supposed to get paid, I got an email saying, well, there's been a slight delay, but we're confident the angels will find a way to pay you. Angels? Oh my God, what's going on? And well, it turned out the mother of the publisher, it was all over the San Francisco Examiner, she gets arrested by the FBI, and I don't get paid for my 6 months of work. Well, some people will drown their sorrows in alcohol or drugs. I, being the free spirit that I am, wandered into a music store because I play lots of instruments. So I'm either going to go into a music store or an art store because I do lots of art as well. And so I go into the store. This was in San Rafael, California, where I lived at the time. And this guy comes over, can I help you? And I said, yeah, I'd like to see your drums because I'm a drummer. In fact, I have 17 drums. I say I have 17 drums and for some reason my neighbors still like me. So, I play on some drums. I'm not real impressed with the drums. And then he says, is there anything else you'd like help with? And I said, well, I'm a left-handed guitarist. I used to be a professional guitarist. And do you have any left-handed guitars? And he goes, yes, we have two. And he brings me into the air-controlled humidifier, the expensive room. And I play on one left-handed guitar. Oh yeah, this is pretty nice. But I put it down. Then the second one I play on is like, oh my God, I must own this guitar. I have to have this guitar. Now, I'm not an impulse buyer at all. And so I said I asked him, how much is this guitar? And he said, $1,000. I didn't have $1,000. But I said, I will own this guitar within 1 month. And it was that sense, and maybe you've had this sense before in your life where you just know. You don't know the how, but you just know that you know that you know. You can feel it in your body, feel it in your guts and your bones. Yes, I know I'm going to own this guitar within a month. It was one of those moments. A friend said to me, why did you hold a show? And I'm thinking that's a great idea. And she said, you can ask your friends to prepay for tickets, but I'm terrified of performing. I was like in studio recordings, doing recordings. That's fine. I'm not facing an audience playing guitar. That was at the time terrifying to me. But I wanted this so much, I said yes. Another friend said, I have a very large living room. We can hold 40 people. Great. Now I have a venue. So I started putting out the word, asking people for $20 donations. Then I started, practicing some guitar things, and I started putting together some skits, some related to, and I thought, maybe I'll read some sections from my Crappy to Happy manuscript, because I'm not going to play guitar for like a full-length show. That was just too terrifying. But if maybe, I can read some parts from my Crappy to Happy manuscript. I can, embellish with some skits. And so within a month, I had 60 people paying $20. So I now had $1,200 in my pocket. I had to rent a room at the Unitarian Church in Marin because I had outgrown the house. And I went, it was the week before the show, and I went to get that guitar. I got that money in hand, and they said, oh, we've made a mistake. And my first thought was like, no, oh my God, they sold my guitar and I put all this energy. Then, oh, no, wait a minute. This is a $1,000 left-handed guitar. What are the odds? I think they're in my favor. And the man said, the mistake is, this guitar is used. It's here on consignment. We'll give it to you for $400. So now I had an extra $600 towards that. And I said, well, I think I could use that special effects unit and the microphone and that mic stand in a guitar case. And I thought, I wonder if this might be more than a one-time thing. So the night of the show came. I'm so excited. The audience is filling up. I'm doing a sound check, and all the electronics on the guitar completely failed. And now I am just beside myself. I worked for embezzlers. I have worked so hard to create my dream. And here I am about to go on stage, and the entire electronics on the inner workings of the guitar are shot. And I'm in tears. And one of my friends comes up to me and she said, this was before the show, she said, you know, I know what you mean. Remember, my house burned down last week. So when I got on stage and I explained to people that all the electronics had broken, you know, weren't working, and I said, why is there always someone to one up your crappy moments? You know, I guess the house burning down, you know, trumped what, you know, the workings of the guitar. And I played acoustically. The show was successful. I went on to create more shows. The show became something called Comic Intervention for Closet Visionaries and Almost Manifestors. And then I had a subtitle on top of that, which is a one-woman show, except for the other people. And I played with audiences in very, very fun ways. The show was successful, and I started doing more and more shows, getting more comfortable being on a stage. Then when I went back to the publishers at the giant feeding frenzy for the publishing industry, where I've now been pitching manuscripts for my clients for close to 20 years. And I said, yeah, you know, I do this one-woman show. You do a show? Tell us about it. And I had a book deal within 2 weeks. And so what I say is, if I hadn't worked for embezzlers, there's no way that I would have taken all the risks in my life that led me to my dream of not only being a published author, but I just felt it inside. I needed my foot in the door, and I wanted a career related to being an author. I didn't know it would take the shape that it has taken, where my company, we edit books, we ghostwrite books, and I pitch. But it did take that shape, but it all started. And the reason I told you this rather long story with all its twists and turns, it started from the question, what is the most loving thing I can do for me right now? You know, so in that place of going through that dark night of the soul, I went through a lot of grief. And I learned how to ride the waves of grief, because what I noticed is that grief comes, and when it comes, it feels like, you know, a torrent, a typhoon, a tsunami that's never going to end. But at some point, that wave of grief crests, and I would find quiet and peace until the next wave hit. It could happen that day, later that day, it could happen the next day. It hit whenever it hit. And after about a month, I realized I was navigating the waves of grief, knowing that they had their beginning point, they had their crest, and eventually it would end. But when I was in it, I really didn't know that it would end, because it feels like it will never end. But one of the things I learned in the process of navigating grief, and it's one of my favorite quotes that kind of downloaded through me in the writing of Crappy to Happy, is that sorrow digs the well and joy fills it. Sorrow digs the well and joy fills it. So what I learned is that the deeper I was going into the real feelings and doing the hard work of grief that most people don't ever want to feel. But if you're willing to feel the deepest feelings, the shadow parts, all the dark, whatever, dark feelings, you're actually creating a container. I was creating a container in which I could hold that much more joy. Because if you stay on the surface, you're not really willing to do the deep work, whatever that is for you. You're on the surface. You can feel surface joy, but you can't feel that real deep, deep joy. So I really encourage people, if you're brave enough to do it, to feel the deep feelings, because you will be creating a container in which you can hold different emotions. I can hold grief, I can hold fear, and I can hold happiness, often simultaneously, because I dug that well.
Wow. I don't
I
even
can
know.
keep on going here.
Oh my gosh, Randy. Well, you know, we're going to have you back, because we do try to have everyone meet one another. So could we have some information, just some ideas in the chat? Do you want to meet one another, or do you want to continue to hear Randy? So either put meet or hear in the chat, and we will continue whichever way this group wants to continue.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've heard Randy so many times, but Randy, what can I do for myself right now? What a beautiful nudges. Oh my goodness. And we are, as Judy and we were mentioning in the beginning, we are waiting for the consensus. This forum which we have created is not our forum for ourselves. It is for really together. It is a forum for you all, us together, helping each other. So it's, Judy and me are very clear from the beginning. It's all about the free spirit and helping each other really get the free spirit out. So Judy, you were asking me, let's make, normally we have rooms where we network together, but I think networking part, we can all put our information there in the chat, and we all should really have one-on-one with each other and learn about each other and see what we can do. We have wisdom here in the room. Janice is there, Sandeep is there. We have so many people, Terry is here, so many wonderful wisdom. So, but I think I would love, my consensus is also here, Randy.
So Randy, if you don't mind speaking for another, 5-10 minutes.
Sure, I'm happy to.
Because everyone has said that they want to hear from you.
Good. The other thing that I invite you all to do is put questions for me in the chat. I'm just going to start sharing one thing, but if you have specific questions, I want to share a story with you called Anger Repels Wealth. And, in the course of interviewing so many people, one of the people I got to interview was Susie Orman. And I assume everybody knows who Susie Orman is, magical money guru on major television. And so she told me this story about anger repels wealth, as so does any negative emotion, really. So she said she was in her limo in gridlock traffic in downtown New York. And she looked out her car window, and she saw a man squatting on the sidewalk. And as each person walked by, he said, "Got a cigarette?" And they continued walking on. "Got a cigarette?" They continued walking on. And she thought, he's not even asking for money, he just wants a cigarette. So she said, she's thinking to herself, I'm going to make this guy's day. And she opened up her wallet, her little purse, and she had $75 in her purse. And she said, I'm going to give this man $75. I'm just going to blow his mind. And she said, I had my hand on the door and I was about to open it when this couple walked by him. And when he said, "You got a cigarette?" and they just walked on, he spit in their direction. And she saw that and she said, I took my money and I put it back in my purse. And this is what she said. He didn't know what good was about to come his way, but his anger repelled it. Such a powerful story for all of us about what are the dark places that we don't want to look at, where we're holding resentment or anything, that we would call negative, that we would judge as negative. And what can we do to release those places? Like, I worked back in the 80s, when dinosaurs ruled the earth. And I was working for a senior center for the city of Pacifica, California. And I worked for a man who was just a horror of a human being. And I was probably in my early 30s, and I would just go home in tears every day at the way this man treated people, not the way he treated me, but the way he treated others. Just not a good excuse for a human being in my mind. And he died. And, being a person of light, I figure I'll forgive him. And I did that, and I thought I had forgiven him. And then maybe a year later, I would think he would just come into my mind. I'm going, no, I haven't forgiven him at all. And this went on for about 7 years, where I was still carrying this horror of a person in my mind. And then 7 years, it wasn't like I was thinking about him, but I had a lucid dream experience in which he appeared in front of me, and he was pointing to a blackboard. This is before whiteboards. And in my mind, I said, oh, he's teaching me something. And in that moment, I received a transmission of love that is beyond anything I've ever felt on the earth. And I realized that this man is making his amends to me from beyond the veil. That's the way it felt to me. And so from that, I extrapolated that the only place that we're all going to ultimately is love. That is it. That is the only place we're all going to. So then I asked myself, can I be that source of love here now? And in any difficult circumstance I'm in, or with people where there's something that doesn't jibe, I ask myself, if I can't bring myself fully to love, can I bring myself to neutral? And it is my goal in this lifetime to be able to do that as much as possible. You know, in terms of being a free spirit, that's one of the ways to free ourselves. Like, you know, Dr. Jerry Jampolsky wrote this book, Love is Letting Go of Fear. I was involved with his Attitudinal Healing Center for 11 years when I lived in Marin, like in the 90s. And he told a story about, I think the man's name was Don Thetford. I might be wrong on that name, but it was the man who helped Helen, the woman who wrote A Course in Miracles. And he said to Jerry Jampolsky regarding forgiveness, he goes, just drag the bastard in and forgive him. And I just love that. I just love that. Sometimes it just feels like it has to be that. So, you know, I really like that piece of advice, but the more we can do that work, the better we all become. So are there messages in the chat? I haven't seen messages. If there are, maybe you could tell me.
We are a small enough group. If you want to unmute yourself and ask a question directly, I think that'll be fun too. Randy, oh my goodness. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I don't have words right now. I'm so grateful. Oh my goodness. Anybody wants to ask a question to Randy?
Mm-hmm. You know, the second book I wrote is called The Power of Miracle Thinking. And I interviewed a lot of people who had miracles because I wanted to know what are the thoughts, attitudes, and beliefs that people held, as well as the actions that they took that they feel allowed the doors of grace to open. Like what makes the energy flow? And I came to Ruth Ira. Ruth is my middle name. So you've probably heard of the Roth IRA, which is like a retirement investment kind of plan for yourself. Well, the Ruth IRA, it is an acronym. And I had a dream one night and I saw the letters INSIST, insist, spelled out on a Scrabble board. And I started thinking about, what is it that I'm willing to absolutely insist upon happening in my life? Because if I'm absolutely willing to insist upon happening, I will make it happen. It's that sense of insistence of knowing. It's just like we either have priorities in our lives or we have options. Options never happen. Priorities, when we have that insistence, it will manifest. We will make it happen. And then I realized, so the I in the Ruth IRA is insistence. What is it we're really willing to insist upon happening? Now the R is resistance. And what this means is, I want, universe deliver it, but at the time when I was figuring out this Ruth IRA, I said, I really want a relationship. I want my soulmate, but I don't want my heart to be skewered again. Please, no. No, but I want that relationship, but I don't want to be hurt. Wherever we hold that, yes, but. Yes, I want it, but. The energy will not flow. Or it might flow, but it's going to trickle. It's going to flow slower. When we're in a full yes, that's when that energy is going to flow quickly. So how do we get beyond our big fat butt? And that became the A, which is, I asked myself the question, what is it that I am truly willing to allow? Truly willing to allow. So we've got insistence, resistance, and allowing. And at that time I said, okay, relationship. I'm willing to allow a phone conversation with a new person. I'm willing to allow a dinner out. I'm willing to allow maybe holding hands. Like sometimes I think that we're pushed to, and people say, you know, take the risk, just go for it, you know, get beyond your fears. But this is very different. This is a very gentle inward journey. in which you are asking yourself, what is it I'm truly willing to allow? These are baby steps, which led me onward on my path into a relationship that was right for me. When I'm working with people in my book world, helping, edit, ghostwrite, whatever, get their book deals, I have a come from place. And my come from place with everyone is, this is what I ask for. I ask for divine right clients for whom I can create phenomenal results. So I love the language of divine right and divine right alignments. So I ask for divine right clients for whom I can create phenomenal results. I ask for their divine right publishers. And I'm not attached to what that looks like. If somebody wants to self-publish, great. If they want me to help them find a publisher, great. I just want what's highest and best for each person. So when you start coming into your own divine right alignments, wow, you create miracles in your life. You create miracles in the lives of countless others. Like right now, I have authors right now on the Wall Street Journal bestseller list. And one of my books right now, Publishers Weekly is calling one of their top 25 picks. And right now, Cosmo Magazine just named another one of my authors, number 16 best nonfiction book 2020. Why? How do all these people get phenomenal results? Because that's what I called in. So think about what's important for you to call in. Ask for those divine right clients, divine right alignments, divine right results for them and for you. This is powerful stuff, folks.
Thank you, Randy. It certainly is powerful. And, it reminds me of something that I live by, and that is accept the things you cannot change, but change the things you can't accept. And it really made a difference in my life to not accept many of the things that I was just accepting because, I thought, oh, well, I'm supposed to accept that. But being able to really decide, like you said, and no longer allow some of that stuff from continuing to happen.
Yes. See, and I tend to focus on the positive. What is it I'm truly willing to allow? That's all in positive, so it really makes a difference. One of the things I love to say is, there's always naysayers, especially if somebody's pursuing their dreams. There's always people who want to protect them, loved ones who want to protect you from failure, and they're naysayers. And I say, look for the yay-sayers. I want to actually write a book about yay-sayers. And they're often people who you don't even know yet. But when you get really clear on your intent and the impact you want to make, and you're 100%, 1,000% in that yes, those yay-sayers will show up for you. And they're usually people you don't know right now, but they will come. They will be sent.
So true. So true. Does anybody have any questions for Randy before we're almost out of time? We have about 8 minutes left. Anyone have any questions? Go. You'll have to unmute yourself. I muted most everyone.
I think we are all speechless right now. Randy, you were the divine presence today. I've known you for years. I've always admired you. I always have told myself when I write a book, when I'm ready, it's only will be with Randy. And today I'm just thinking, no, I need to do it today. Yes, today. You are awesome. Your imagination, Randy, awesome. Your authenticity, your being one with yourself, and your silence, which you have understood, came across very loud and clear. The divine in you, we acknowledge. Really beautiful. So, I think everybody, welcome as we are opening the forum. We only have 7 more minutes. We honor each other's time. We will, we start on time. Judy always says, even if, whatever. We had more than 35 people registered, but the way Judy and me think, all those who really had to listen to Randy were here. And in my mind, I kept saying, oh my God, this friend should be here. This friend should be here. I was really juggling in fact, I was about to call them. I said, no. My presence is right here. I have to be in this presence right now. And Randy, We were honored. We will love to have you come again. And each one of you who's on the event today with us, please spread the joy. Join us again and again. Let's make this event as your event. Let's really grow together. And in this dark age of, Randy says it, a dark night or a dark month or dark year.
The dark year and a half of the soul, right?
We really need to
Little truth in advertising. I see Larry has some questions. Larry, if we have a few minutes, can we unmute? And I'd be happy to answer.
Well, actually, I just, because I came in late, I apologize. I had a meeting that ran late and so on. Anyway, no, I just have a couple questions for you, but I need to dig a little deeper into some of what you said, and because I didn't hear everything, I guess is what I'm getting at. So, I don't want to waste everybody's time with my questions to get to where I'm trying to go here. So, so if you could either email me or we can exchange phone numbers, whatever works for you is fine with me.
Yeah, please, we are insisting again, please put your information in the chat. So we want all of you to really have one-on-one with each other. We really want to support you and make your business grow. That's our whole purpose of this Unleash Your Free Spirit event. Right, Judy? So please put your information there. Larry, reach out to Randy if you have any questions. If you want anything, reach out to us, Judy or me, either one of us. We'll be honored to connect you to anybody who's on the session today. I think we acknowledge each other, and that'll be wonderful.
Carrie Lynn has a question.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me here. I'm here because of you and how lovely a person you are. And then what a treat. I mean, my things were going crazy. I had to not turn on my video to take care of my barking dog and who needed to be taken care of. But I'm so happy that I showed up. There was that thought in my mind, oh, maybe should I just let this take over? But there was something that compelled me to show up today. And I'm so happy. Randy, thank you so much for your presentation. I'm sure all of us have been in different places. And I the question I had for you, you gave me a lot to think about. The question I have for you is, do you feel people sometimes, and maybe it's that put armor around themselves, and as a result, it is slowing down what they really want to achieve. It's not allowing them to feel fully, even when they should be happy. They're not experiencing the happy, but it's protecting them from the sad. Do you feel people put on their armor? And maybe that's part of that well. You need to dig the well to be able to fill it up.
Yeah, I think, people are afraid of going into the deep emotions. And most people, I think a majority of people don't want to feel pain. And that's why we have an opioid crisis, among many things that are going on in this country. And a lot of people equate tears and vulnerability with weakness. And it's my experience that people who are really willing to feel those deep feelings and to be vulnerable are actually the strongest people in the world. They really are. People who are, holding back all of that energy that's, stopping feeling, especially feelings of fear or vulnerability or tears. That's in my mind, those are the people who are cowards because they're holding back. Although I've actually never judged people and called people cowards before. It just kind of came out of my mouth right now. But let me just phrase it in the positive. I think people who are really brave are the people who are willing to feel their feelings.
And I think from the gist of it, you have to feel that so that you can fully feel the other. So like I said, I think I put so many protective barriers on that even when I should be happy, I'm not totally happy.
Yes, but see, by answering, that question, what's the most loving thing I can do for me right now? That is an incredible step towards finding greater happiness, because you're just staying in the truth of who you are. Mm-hmm. And listening to that inner truth. I don't think it's realistic to go from sadness like, hey, I'm happy now. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's real. You feel what there is to feel, you move through it, and you start finding your way. Like I made it a priority in my life. I said, I want to know if it's possible for me to be happy. I don't even know, but I'm going to create my life into an experiment to see if it is. So I'd spent many years in clinical depression, on tranquilizers in high school, just horribly depressed through college. I didn't know it was possible to be happy. But I found it just by following that path. What's the most loving thing I can do for me right now? And I wasn't focused on outcomes. I didn't know I was writing a book. I didn't know I was creating a whole new career from asking myself that question. I just followed that inquiry, and it led me somewhere.
Thank you.
Beautiful,
Yes.
beautiful, beautiful. Randy, we can talk with you for hours. I can listen to you nudging me and telling me what can I do for me right now. But right now it's almost 1 o'clock.
Yes.
Just letting you know that our next event is every time first Wednesday of the month at 12 p.m. The same link will be there. We will nudge you again. We'll invite you again. Spread the joy, spread the information about this event, make it yours, and maybe see each one of you come back again. We always have a guest speaker every time, right, Judy? And we'll inform you who the next guest speaker is going to be. We are lucky, we are fortunate to have beautiful, warm, wisdom full of circle of friends. And Randy, just bowing to you with my folded hands. That's all I can say. Anything
Thank
else,
you.
Judy, we need to say before we end the call?
Yes,
I
just
put my email in the chat. So
Please.
thank you. Thank you. And everyone else, if you'd like to do that, I'll leave it open for a couple of minutes so that you can save the chat. And I would especially like to thank our guests today for being here. And I know for a lot of people, the first time they attend one of our functions, they're just so surprised because it's so different than most other things that are available today. And we really want to do this for each other and for ourselves. So, just take an hour out once a month and focus on us and what makes us a free spirit. And Randy, thank you for your transparency. As always, you're just such a special person in my heart. And I'm along with Guinea. As soon as I write a book, we'll be talking whenever.
thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next month. And hopefully, we'll have enough time to talk between that. And we look forward to meeting each and every one of you and learning about what you need to unleash your free spirit.
And how we can support you. Really, we are there between this month, the whole month. Let's be on one-on-one. I call it Zoom teas. Terry knows it. Terry's smiling. We've had a Zoom tea with each other. So we want to know each other a little bit better. Ravina, Larry, Sandeep, everybody. And please reach out to Randy or anybody else. Have some time to know each other. With that, we respect your time. We are honored by your presence, and we hope to see you again and again. May our journey paths cross each other again and again. Keep smiling, my dear friends. Be jolly all the time.